Hi everybody. I want to talk today about how being empathic can increase our productivity. In my experience, there is often a rational and a logical discourse in organization that leave no room to the emotional discourse. There is a perception or even a worry that if we will give room for the feelings and emotions, it will float us and we won't know what to do with it. This kind of behavior can create frustration plus the experience of stagnation. Because in the end, we are human beings who go through experiences and contain emotions. And once we experience in only the rational, logical aspect that does not enable change. As I see it in a paradoxical way, the ability to feel and give room to those feelings by having an emotional discourse increases our productivity and our creativity. I want to share with you an example that illustrates the importance of full communication, which contains both the logical discourse and the emotional one. In the beginning of my career, more than 20 years ago, I accompanied an investment consultant at one of the largest banks in the service center. I would sit next to him and listen to the conversation with customers and then give them feedback on the conversation and the communication and the behavior with the customer. In the professional language, it was called on-the-job training. I remember sitting with one of the investment consultants who was many years older than me. I was present on a phone call he had with a client. I, as a consultant, was invited since the waiting time at the service center was very long, causing great frustration and dissatisfaction among the customers who had long waited on the line. I remember listening to the investment consultant, a customer who called it to wait about 10 minutes on the line, and he started complaining that he waited a long time on the line. The consultant began to explain to him rationally and logically that there was a long quick and that they were doing their best to answer clients. But this rational explanation did not convince the client, and he continued complaining. About 5 minutes went by in this wasted discourse, which, as you can understand, extended the waiting time at the center, which they wanted to prevent in advance. After the conversation, I reflected this to the consultant, the discourse that took place, and the fact that this caused the conversation to last another 5 minutes instead of shortening the conversation. I suggested to him that the next time when a customer calls, being frustrated by the fact that he had to wait a long time on the line, he will be empathic toward him and give room for the emotional discourse. I actually suggested that he tell him that he understood his frustration and that he was also frustrated if he had to wait long time on the line. It cost me blood to convince him. Because as I said, he was a long-time consultant with a lot of experience, having to listen to a young consultant who gave him a strange and non-instrumental advice. I remember myself almost begging and telling him, please, why do you mind to try? Just try. He eventually did. This time when a customer called and started a discourse when he was angry about the waiting time, the same consultant looked at me and realized he had no choice because he promised me to try. And then he said, I understand your frustration. I too would be frustrated if I waited so long. Amazingly, the consultant did not need to add another word. The customer immediately responded in affirmative saying, okay, so I want you to buy me this stock and this one. It was amazing to see what the immediate effect it had on the fact that the consultant gave room to the emotional discourse beyond providing a rational explanation, and just saw him in the experience he went through. People want to be seen, and once you see them, many times they are ripe to move on. On the other hand, if you are neither seen nor the emotional place you are in, they will continue to argue in the rational form of discourse and then experience stagnation, because they will not really get what they wanted. And surprisingly, the other party also won't get what he wanted. In this case, shortening the conversation significantly. Of course, the thought that runs through our mind that this is a manipulative behavior and that the consultant played the game that he has been told to play. So let me say two things regarding this thought. First of all, sometimes in order to learn a new skill, we need to do it in an unnatural way against our automatic behavior. And while we act upon this new behavior, we may feel artificial and not natural to act this way. As the saying goes, fake it till you make it. But there is a point that this behavior becomes part of who we are and our abilities. These conducts enable us to grow and expand our skills and our abilities. And secondly, in my opinion, people feel from what place we are talking. What our intention? If I say I understand you, but I don't really understand the customer and I don't care about him, the chance of him responding positively to my words will be minor. Most people respond to what transmits beyond the words. What the intention of the other person. And if the intention is manipulative and insincere, people won't respond to the manipulation itself. So this is my story for today. If you like the story and the message, and you're invited to visit us on Wisdom to Lead Facebook and LinkedIn for more tips and video every week. See you soon. Thank you for listening.